Today I'll be setting up a budget binder for a shared savings account that I have with my partner. This account currently has a specific amount in it, and we have looked at the type of envelopes or sort of sinking funds that we would like to allocate this money to. So what we want to start with is allocating what's already in this specific account into these sinking funds, and then we will continue to add in every month or reallocate some funds that we have stored elsewhere. Because this is money that is already in our account, I will not be using actual cash. I will be using play money. So I have that lined up over here. I've got fives. Now I have euros because I live in Germany. 10 euros, 20, 50, and then I've got some really nice ones, 400 and above. These are gold and they're quite thick and nice, so I'm excited to use these. Got a 200 and 500 placeholder. So these will be off to the side, and that's what I'll be using. I'm using an A6 binder that I got off of Amazon. Empty right now. And I have some envelopes. Now, the envelopes I've created myself. I will show what I used to have. These are envelopes that came with the binder. They're just plastic and they came with stickers, and I quickly had written some down just to allocate some funds and to play around with the system because I'm relatively new to this. But I do have a printer and I do have a laminator, so I've created my own envelopes. This is what they look like. So I'll go through these a little bit. And on top of that, I've also created trackers because the ones that came with the binder look like this. They're fine, but they're paper and they're not reusable. So I have created my own. And these are laminated, so they are reusable. I use permanent marker or marker for any kind of plastic surface. And it's removable with nail polish remover or acetone. Some of them are one-sided, and there are a couple that are double-sided. And this is more so for sinking funds that would have more transactions. And these, well, I ran out, so some are one-sided. Some actually have errors on the back. I was testing some printing. So that's what I'll be using. The markers that I'm using are Staedtler Lumocolor permanent markers. Any fine tip permanent marker will work on these trackers. Okie doke. So I'm going to get into it. I already have my amounts listed to the side because there's a specific amount in this account, which will total up later. I think it's about, I don't know, 1,100 euros, maybe a little bit more. So these amounts and how much is getting funded every month will change, and we'll likely add a lot more money to these from other accounts. But for now, we're looking at allocating what we have in this one account. So to walk through the envelopes, I've got emergency. So this is going to be our emergency fund here. What we want to do is actually save about, in the first instance, just 1 month of all fixed and variable expenses. And then work our way up to 3, 6, and then ideally have up to 12 months of emergency funds. Family, so this is money that we allocate to our future family. We are currently a family of 2. My partner, myself, we do have a dog, and we expect to expand that family a little bit and have additional pets. Children are not really in the picture right now, or maybe ever, but this is just for our future family, whatever that might mean. It also could be for immediate family members like our parents, remaining grandparents, or siblings. Investment, so this is money that's actually not going to stay in these envelopes too long because this is meant to be invested either into ETFs or mutual funds, stocks, and so on. So we expect to get a specific amount in here, and then by the end of 2023, we actually want to hire a financial advisor to help us with allocating our funds a little bit more strategically than we are now. Mortgage is for our future mortgage. Right now we live in Frankfurt, so we're renting, but we are planning on either buying or building a home one day. So this is just to prepare for that. We have a car, and it's not that old, actually. It's a few years, but it's in leasing or financing for 5 years, and we're about 18 months in. So we would like to have a nice chunk saved for when we are finished paying off our existing car to either get a second vehicle or to trade in and upgrade. Retirement is just that. This money isn't just going to be in a high yield savings account. Again, we're trying to build up a specific amount, and as we get to that amount, we want to deposit that into a specific retirement savings fund. And wedding, we are living in sin, some people might say. We would like to get married at some point, partially because we live in Germany, which is quite bureaucratic. It makes things a lot easier if you are married. But if we do go that route, we would like to have an actual wedding. Regardless of size, we do need to include some type of budget for that. So this is why we have a wedding envelope, but it's not planned. We're not actually engaged. So it's really for the future. So those are the envelopes, and we'll get into stuffing. I will also be filling these out on camera. So what I've got ready with me is a green pen for the funds that will be considered as added, and a black pen to fill in the rest. I'm starting alphabetically. That's how they're sorted. I really don't see any. There are obviously different priorities. Emergency fund is priority 1. It also happens to be the first envelope in the list. But family is not as important as investment. Mortgage is also not as important as investment, because ultimately by the time we get to a certain amount that we want to put down on a home, we don't know what the real estate market is going to look like. So new car, not a priority. Retirement is a priority. Wedding is not a priority. So I'm going to simply no, and I'd rather have them alphabetically. So when I'm looking for a specific fund, I don't have to remember what priority I assigned it, because that priority might change long term. Yep, so I'm using this binder, and I think what I'll do is I'll put the envelopes in already, and then we'll do the cash stuffing and filling these in afterwards. I realize that emergency already has something in here, so I'll take that out. Okie doke. So I'll get started. I'm going to give emergency fund a double-sided tracker, only because it's going to take a lot longer to get to specific amounts here. So what we want to start off with first is about, I think, 3,500 euros, and then it might be that we work up to 3,500 euros every time, and when we get to 3,500 euros, that's another month, and we just add it into a high yield savings account, which will eventually then, that money will be pulled into our sort of checking account. Our everyday expense account will have at minimum a specific amount. I realized that my tracker has split. I will relaminate that later. So I'll use this one afterwards. Okay, good. So my category here is emergency. And my starting balance, well, technically here is 0, because I don't have anything in here, but I will be funding this account. And from what I can see in my list here, so that's about 450 euros. So that means I'm going to take two 200 euro shines, that's the word in German, notes, and I will take a 50. Either way, when real cash might eventually go into these envelopes, at some point it will be replaced with play money because we do want our money to earn interest, so it won't be sitting in our house. Okay, so then today's date is the 12th of February. We're funding the account. The balance will be 450 euros. So we are adding 450 euros. I'll give that a little shake so it dries off a little bit. These dry relatively quickly. So I wrote emergency just a moment ago and it's already dry. So I put that in together into the emergency fund. Family. So moving on to family, I've allocated 110 euros to this, so I will take 100 euro and 10. What's great about this is it gives us a better overview of how much money we have allocated to which expenses out of this savings account. And it's going to be a lot easier to manage when we start transferring money from other places, because when we get into larger numbers, it's probably easier to lose track of. There's also going to be a digital version of this. I've grown quite fond of this kind of process. It's relatively new to me. I only started in November of 2022. So I'm definitely not an expert, but I do quite like this. It's a lot of fun for me and it definitely holds me accountable because it's very easy to reallocate and reshuffle funds around without really thinking about the impact that it has on future expenses. All right, so investment is also getting 110. These are really nice. I'm definitely going to get more of these. They're fantastic. So 110. And this is investment. Mortgage, we've allocated 180, so 50, 70, and 80. It might seem like these are relatively low amounts. We're just starting out with allocating funds. So like I said, we've looked at this one account and determined, let's take the money that's in there, allocate it to these funds, and then let's review everything else, reshuffle, and see how we want to allocate. Also, mortgage is not something we'd really thought about because we didn't know if we were going to stay in Germany. I'm not German. And my partner is now. He obtained citizenship, but it wasn't clear if we were going to stay here, so buying a house in Germany wasn't really a priority at that time. Okay, so new car is getting, it's going to get 20 only because it's such a low priority and it really is there just in case. We might actually hold on to our car beyond the 5 years. We'll see what our needs are at the time. retirement is getting 180, 150, 70, 80. And last but not least, wedding is getting 50. Okay, so we've put all of that in, and I will do a quick tally of the funds, but I believe we are at, let me just pull it up here. I have the amount, but then I logged out of my account. So we have 450 in emergency. We've got, I believe, 110 in family, 110 in investment, 180 in mortgage, 20 in new car, 180 in retirement, and 50 in wedding. So that's 1,100 euros. So that's what we have in that account. In this specific account, we typically deposit, I think, around 600 euros a month. So those funds are going to be allocated, and I've already looked at splitting them with regard to percentage. So you'll see that, for example, investment, it was mortgage got 180 and retirement got 180 because that's a specific percentage of that 600. So it's expected that we're going to change those numbers, not the percentages, but the numbers based on how much we end up depositing into this account. We might keep it at 600 and focus on other accounts in a different way. We'll see, but that's where we're at now. So thanks for tuning in.